Hey everybody! Thanks for listening to On the Podcast, a short episode format podcast to give you something to do while you kill time doing your business on the pot. Or maybe you listened to a podcast episode and they left you hanging. And now you've got a week with time to kill and only time to kill. So take your time, go back to the start of our episodes and listen all the way through, because by the time you get back to where we are, it'll have been a week.
There's a lot of different content in there, so
A lot of different content.
It'll make you happy, it'll make you sad, it'll make you think, it'll make you confused.
You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll be like, why do I still listen to this?
It's addicting.
It is. It is. I'm Liz.
And I'm Katie. Hi, Liz.
Hey, Katie.
I would say, what are we talking about today? But I know we're in part 2 of this horrifyingly depressing story.
Yeah, if you've been having a good day, you won't anymore. You're about to get depressed. Look, this is a story of sadness, heartbreak, and also perseverance. So let's...
I wouldn't want to persevere in this situation. I would not want to. I'm not into it. Kill me early.
Well, you might not want to be killed early. Let's talk about the miracle of the Andes. So I left you where the plane had just crashed. Pilot is dead. Co-pilot's begging that somebody kill him. At this point, we're down to 33 passengers. Many were critically injured, and there were 2 medical students on board.
Ooh, they were lucky, man. Lucky or unlucky, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, so Roberto Canessa was one of these medical students. He'll come into play many times later.
Okay, Roberto
Canessa, or just remember Canessa. And Gustavo Zerbino. So they checked kind of the severity of everybody's wounds and treated what they could. There was a passenger named Parado, who will be important later as well, who actually had a skull fracture and was in a coma for 3 days. Isn't that crazy?
In a coma on the side of this mountain?
And bear in mind, so this is October, which would be fall our time, spring down in Argentina, Chile, but it's like, early spring in 11,000 feet elevation, so it's cold.
Yeah, freezing.
Yeah. So a lot of people had broken limbs, and essentially any of the people who had compound fractures didn't survive, which makes sense because
bled out.
Yeah, bled out, it gets infected, things like that. So the Chilean Air Search and Rescue Service, SARS, change your name. Oh, no. Were notified within hours of the crash going down, and they started out searching. Now, they ended up actually searching in the wrong area because, again, the air traffic control thought they were in one space, as did the co-pilot, so they didn't really see anybody. So after 8 days of searching, rescue efforts were actually called off. And they were hoping that they would pick up again once the weather got warmer in December. Now, let's talk about the first week.
Feel like it's just gonna go down from here.
Yeah, well, down and then up, just like a mountain.
Okay.
So within the first night, 5 people died, including the co-pilot. The surviving 28 ended up removing the broken seats and other debris to build like a shelter out of what was left of the plane. Now, our friend Parado woke up from his coma and found that his mother and 19-year-old sister, that his mother had died and that his 19-year-old sister was severely injured. And he tried to keep her alive, but after 8 days, she ended up succumbing to her injuries and died. They had freezing cold nights that would get down to negative 22 degrees.
Ugh, yuck.
And this whole team all lived near the ocean in warm weather, so they weren't prepared for this type of weather. A lot of them had never seen snow before. They weren't packed they didn't have their luggage didn't have any warm clothes. They didn't have a ton of medical supplies, so they were kind of screwed. So they did find a transistor radio, and one of the passengers hooked an electrical cable to it to send out a message out to whoever was listening about the fact that they were still alive. And what they ended up hearing on that radio was that the search had been suspended and that everybody was assumed dead.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, that is like no hope. You
I
have
know.
zero hope at that point.
I know.
Ooh.
So upon this, like, obviously, morale was super low, and one of the passengers basically shouted back at them, the sad people, "Oh, that's great news. They think we're dead."
Why would that be good news? Why would that be good news?
Exactly. Somebody asked that, and he said, because that means we're getting out of here on our own. Meaning they're going to forge for it. They're going to act. They're going to get out. They're going to make a way for themselves.
No hope turns into we're doing it,
We're
bitches.
doing it. Yep. So it did actually like help out. They had very little food, obviously. They had 8 chocolate bars, a tin of mussels, a tin of almonds, candies, some dried plums, jam, some dates, and several bottles of wine. And so obviously that, they rationed it out as much as they could. Mm-hmm. However, the food dwindled pretty quickly. Parado said that he ate one single chocolate-covered peanut over 3 days.
A peanut over 3 days?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So
would
the
that
food
actually do anything? That wouldn't do anything.
Probably not much. It maybe just like keeps your energy for like, I don't even know. They had conversations about eating bodies, and pretty much all of the survivors had said, if I die, you can eat my body.
Yeah.
They gave everybody the permission. Now, mind you, there was a lot of like wrestling back and forth. Nobody was like, let's do this. So,
did they have fire?
Yeah, they had fire somewhere. At some point, they had fire. I don't know if they got. I'll explain this. I don't know if they had fire early on. So, yeah. So, a lot of these people were super religious, and they thought like they'd be, damned.
Yeah.
They'd be damned to eternal hell forever.
Damned if you do,
people.
damned if you don't.
Yeah. And so it was just,
that was rough.
Yeah, so they wrestled with it for days. And then finally one of them was like, look, this is essentially like eating the sacrament. So like we have to do what we have to do. Oh. And so they decided that they were going to eat the bodies of some of their classmates and relatives. Now, mind you, Parado made sure that his mother and sister's body was not eaten. But they went to their basically frozen companions, their frozen dead companions, and Canessa, the medical student, started cutting flesh off of their body. Frozen flesh. They also said that, like, it was hard to eat.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
But again,
did they cook it?
All I know of this first part is that it's pretty much just like frozen meat at this point. Frozen meat, frozen flesh. At this point, they're on day 17, and an avalanche hits.
Oh, well, you're kidding me. They can't get a break.
Nope. An avalanche hits the aircraft, and it fills the fuselage. It fills where they're at. 8 people end up dying. They basically, like, they're packed in, and one of the people realizes what's happening, and they're able to basically drill a hole out of this snowpack and get some actual ventilation in. Now, a few days prior to the avalanche, there had been conversation about hiking over the mountains to get out, that was going to be their only way to get out of there, which makes sense. But again, they didn't know where they were. So they thought that they were going to just walk a few miles west, and they'd be in Chile. However, they were actually 55 miles east in the deep Andes. So they decided that just a few members were going to go out and find help.
Man, I literally can't even imagine being in a situation like this where you're like trapped, desperate, snowstorm, your friends are dead, your family's dead. Like, then you have to think about eating them.
It'd be awful. You're not sleeping well. Things are weird. Like, I can't even imagine. So it became Canessa, Parado, and Vizintin, who were the strongest. And because of that, they were given more food and more warm clothes.
Yeah.
Now, in this time, on November 15th, another person died. And then 3 days later, Rafael Echevarren died from gangrene, and then Turicati, the guy who had that sepsis, also died as well.
Yeah.
And he died on the 60th day. The 60th day, December 11th.
That.
Weighing 55 pounds.
No.
Canessa was still hesitant, But Parado finally convinced Canessa that they just have to go. They have to. There's no other choice. So the 3 men again headed out on December 12th. The oxygen is thin in the air. At certain points, they were up to their hips in snow. It's bitter cold. Well, and the crazy thing, too, is that, like, from the crash site, all of the other remaining survivors could see the ridge that these guys are hiking up. So they can they're watching their journey this whole time. And it, again, happened for 3 days. Canessa said that one of the nights was his worst night ever of his life. On the third morning, Canessa stayed back at the camp, and the other 2 reached the base, where, hooray, they've made it. It's snow and ice. They get up to the top. They say, look, we're gonna hike out of this, or we're gonna die trying. That's kind of what just kept getting them going.
Yeah.
At least I'm going. They finally get to the top, and all they see is more mountain peaks.
Yeah.
The bear climbed over the mountain, all that he could see. So they know where they are, so they are backtracking. So they head back to the aircraft, and they end up making a makeshift sleigh to help them get down this mountain out of a seat from the airplane. So they get down, and they agree that they're going to head west. Parado and Canessa ended up hiking for several more days. They reach a narrow valley, and eventually they reach the snow line, where there seem to be more signs of human presence, where they find evidence of camping. Finally, 9 days later, they see some cows. And as they're walking along, they suddenly see these men on the other side of a river, and they're like waving them down like, hey, we need to talk to you. We need to communicate. And one of the men says, tomorrow. I know. I'll talk to you tomorrow, bud. It's cool. So they end up writing this message on a piece of paper and attaching it to a rock and throwing it across the river to these guys. On the message it said, I come from a plane that fell in the mountains. I'm Uruguayan. We've been walking for 10 days. I have a wounded friend up there. In the plane there are still 14 injured. We have to get out of here quickly, and we don't know how. We don't have any food. We are weak. When are you going to fetch us? Please, we cannot walk. Where are we? So this guy is named Sergio Catalan. He reads the note. He understands. He tells the 2 other men that he's there, that he remembers this conversation about this plane going down in the Andes. Mm-hmm. So he throws them some bread, and they head westward 10 hours to bring help.
10 hours? It was still 10 hours?
For these guys that rescued them to go find somebody to bring them help, yep. They end up going to this village called Puente Negro, where they relay the message to the Chilean army about who these people are. And Parado and Canessa are then brought on horseback back to this town, where they're fed and kind of told of what happens. And they explain to the Chilean Air Force who they are, what's going on, where these people are. They say, hey, we're going to take you back out to this area so you know who these people are. Because of the area, the helicopter was only able to land on like one leg. They reached them on December 22nd, and they were only able to take about half of the survivors back. So one of the rescue parties actually stayed with the other survivors through the night, and then in the next morning, the remainder of the people were rescued out of there on December 23rd, 1972.
Yikes. When October... What did this start?
It was 72 days. Yeah, 72 days. Now, of course, they had, a variety of conditions, altitude sickness, dehydration, frostbite, broken bones, scurvy, and malnutrition. And here we are more than 2 months after the crash, and everybody has been picked up. So, of course, they return home, and obviously somebody starts to speculate that the only way they could have survived is through cannibalism. They get flack for that, but then they basically explain, like, this is what happened.
Yeah,
the survivors had said that we could eat them. The remaining bodies that were up there ended up being buried. They brought a priest out there to basically, have a service for these remaining bodies, which is just so crazy. But
man, wow. What a tumultuous journey.
I can't imagine.
I literally can't even fathom what that must have been like.
Isn't that crazy?
And you can't come back to normal life after that.
You can't.
What does life look like after that?
I don't even know. Isn't that wild?
Yes. Weird, wild, wacky stuff.
I think more than anything, the fact that there were, 16 survivors after being out in these insane conditions.
Oh, yeah.
For 72 days is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Yikes. That's all I could say. Yikes.
Yikes. Anyway.
All right. Cool. I don't want to say cool. Very fascinating, really scary stuff. Thanks, Liz.
You're so welcome.
So what's that inside of my body?
Scurvy, I think.
And not somebody else.
Sadness. Depression. But, hey, they survived.
Ooh, man, they survived. All right. So, see you next time.
Yeah. Yeah, you will.